Hello, folks. I am Alan for today's news. I will be reading and speaking about world news, interesting news, news to keep you entertained, and news to keep you informed. First thing I got for you here, this is going to be a longer newscast, so you may just want to go to the parts you want to hear about. Anyway, this one from Newsmax. I'm going to play it for you. I got two videos. I think they're about 5 minutes long.
Neutralized. So thank you to that Air Marshal Service, but I think it's changed. We've seen the stories lately of what the feds have done. We saw the persecution of Mark Houck, the pro-lifer, by the FBI. We've seen everything that's happened with the January 6 arrests, the persecutions, now another 1,000 arrests around the corner. Could the marshals also be being utilized as political police? Well, I want to share with you what I heard from a guest on my radio show who's the executive director of the Air Marshal National Council, Sonia Labosco. Welcome to the Gorka Reality Check.
Thank you, Sebastian. Thanks for having me.
So I was listening to my friend Dan Bongino's radio show when he interviewed you. Absolutely shocking. I immediately reached out to him. He gave me your contact details. You came on my radio show. Now I want all of our Newsmax viewers to hear what you've heard about the, let's just put it, new uses to which the Air Marshal Service has been put.
Well, you hit the nail on the head, Sebastian, when you say the old Air Marshal Service is gone, because that Air Marshal Service doesn't exist anymore. Unfortunately, we are being used for a political agenda. It's quite clear to the air marshals on the ground and that are flying, that are trying to do the best job they can, that this pendulum has swung now. And now we're also in that same political game, in the same arena, where several FBI whistleblowers have come out, and I've spoke to them this last week regarding what they had to do against people that were involved with potentially being in the National Capital Region on January the 6th. And now they've sucked us into the same vacuum.
So what is the story? Tell us what you have heard with regards to who the air marshals are targeting and for what reason.
Well, they're targeting anyone that flew into the National Capital Region between like January the 4th and then January the 7th. There was a list that was provided to the TSA in regards to all the flight manifests, and they have actually manipulated national security systems. I'm going to say this, they've manipulated it, and they entered false information against these individuals that don't even know it, and have listed them as domestic terrorists in a national computer database.
So people who went to Washington for January 6th for the president's speech are being tracked with tools used to track terrorists, are being tracked by the Marshal Service across America?
It is happening, Sebastian. As of we speak again today, there are missions going on right now where people are being followed and spied on the airport property, in the airplane, on the ground. They're being watched by the federal air marshals. These missions are assigned out of headquarters, and they're happening every day. And we've followed thousands of people in the last 2 years, thousands of people that are being watched by the air marshals.
And tell the story of somebody whose spouse was in the Marshal Service and they couldn't even stop this insanity.
It's the craziest story ever. We have an air marshal. He's been in our service since 9/11 stood up. He's a 27-year veteran. His wife attended the Ellipse to listen to the speech President Trump gave at the rally. She never went to the Capitol. She didn't enter the Capitol. She actually is disabled. And, after the speech, she got tired and went to her hotel room. Well, she has been listed into a national computer database that she's a domestic terrorist. Now, she's followed every time that she goes to the airport. Alarms go off when she checks in at the airline counter, because now the airlines have flagged her. Everyone that flies with her, they're now a selectee on every flight that they go on with her. She's put through additional screening at the checkpoint. She gets through that screening. They reverse screen her at the gate, and then they put air marshals on every flight that she's on. This lady has been through hell in the last 2.5 years, and he cannot even get his own wife off this list.
That is the definition of political police. I want to commend you. I want to salute you. I think you've got 17 years of service with the Marshals. You're now the executive director of the Air Marshals National Council. We need more like you. We need people like you to be carrying the badge and the gun today, because that way lies perdition and a banana republic. Thank you, Sonia Labosco.
Okay, this was from Newsmax. I probably said News Nation by mistake, but this is Newsmax. I got one more video, and the links will not be in the description box with for these, because I record them off of television. I couldn't find a link for them. This other one's about Joe Biden.
Well, President Biden will run again for president in 2024. He is rallying union workers right now, and in his announcement asked voters to let him finish the job. It is not the only announcement rocking Washington today, so we want to bring in our political panel to break this all down. Joining us now, Republican strategist Krisha Lenzo and Max Burns, founder and chief strategist at Third Degree Strategies. Thank you both for being here. And let's jump in with you, Krisha. We know today is the 4-year anniversary of Biden's 2020 announcement to the day. But talk about how the country looks different. What does President Biden need to do differently this time around?
Basically everything. And when it comes to what he has stood on in terms of accomplishments, right now he is not even well liked within his own political party. 70% of Americans do not want Joe Biden to run again in the next election cycle, and 51% of those people are Democrats. So his own party has major concerns with Joe Biden running. I mean, even the fact that he released a video touting his accomplishments when we're looking at record high inflation, rampant crime, skyrocketing prices, illegal immigration, problems at our border. The list goes on. China, basically overtaking us. There's so many problems with what has occurred under Joe Biden's presidency, and they will just continue. He needs to do everything differently and actually have a record to stand on, which at this moment he does not.
Max, do you agree? Everything differently?
No, I think what's funny there is if you look at Biden's legislative agenda, everything from passing a semiconductor act and reshoring semiconductor production, bipartisan gun control, federal protections for marriage equality. You can argue Joe Biden has had one of the most effective legislative first terms of any president since Franklin Roosevelt. And that's a legacy I think we see Joe Biden leading into his announcement and really pushing those kitchen table issues with voters as a core part of this campaign.
We'll stay with you, Max. We spoke with former board member for the Democratic National Committee, Mitch Caesar, just about 40 minutes ago. He says to build momentum, it's possible we'll see a Reagan-esque push from Biden going forward, trying to establish his vigor and energy. How do you think his team will address the age issue?
Well, it's definitely something he's going to need to address because while Joe Biden may not feel his age, he certainly looks it, especially to younger Democrats who are less enthusiastic about having potentially the oldest president ever. You'll see Joe Biden out on the campaign trail a lot, doing rallies that will probably involve a lot of physical gesticulation and moving through the crowd. They'll want to get him out into crowds where he does best to show that his memory is there. And these are things that they've been preparing for now for months. And I think we'll see that roll out very quickly.
Okay, and panel, we want to get your take on another topic. A new poll says that members of Congress are a lot more religious than their constituents. So about 90% of those in Congress say that they practice some form of Christianity, from Catholicism to conservative evangelicalism. But when you look at their voters, it's interesting. That number is only 64%. So, Krisha, we'll start with you. What's with the discrepancy there?
I mean, I understand there's a discrepancy. I don't really know if this poll is quite meaningful. I think when we look at religion and how it affects our government, I mean, there is a direct, separation of church and state. It just so happens that this, I guess, is the makeup of what we're seeing. This is an Axios study that was looking at these numbers. I think the real question is, of course, when people think about religion, they think about abortion. And that's specifically, Nikki Haley came out today in her speech talking about how, yes, she has a certain stance on abortion, but when it comes to voters and how they actually feel about the issue, it's way more nuanced. It should not be the polarizing issue that I think it's made out to be, especially by the Democrats at this point who are using it to separate us and to put us all in the extremes.
Max, would you agree with that? Democrats using it to separate, put on the extremes?
I think one of the challenges here, why you've seen religious observance fall so much faster in America, is that polarization. There's a whole generation of young Americans who see Christianity as a political weapon to otherize gay people, trans people, to talk about the most oppressive.
Okay, and this one here is from News Nation. Now I'll get back to my regular news. Now this is from the Associated Press. U.S. to dock nuclear subs in South Korea for the first time in 40 years.
Washington, AP. Presidents Joe Biden and Yoon Suk-yeol on Wednesday will sign an agreement that includes plans to have U.S. nuclear-armed submarines dock in South Korea for the first time in more than 40 years, a conspicuous show of support to Seoul amid growing concern about nuclear threats by North Korea, according to senior Biden administration officials. The planned dock visits are a key element of what's being dubbed the Washington Declaration, aimed at deterring North Korea from carrying out an attack on its neighbor. It is being unveiled as Biden is hosting Yoon for a state visit during a moment of heightened anxiety for both leaders over an increased pace of ballistic missile tests by North Korea over the last several months. The three senior Biden administration officials, who briefed reporters on the condition of anonymity ahead of the official announcement, said that Biden and Yoon aides have been working on details of the plan for months and agreed that occasional and very clear demonstrations of the strength of U.S. extended deterrence capabilities needed to be an essential aspect of the agreement. The agreement seeks to allay South Korean fears over the North's aggressive nuclear weapons program and to ward off the country from restarting its own nuclear program, which it gave up nearly 50 years ago when it signed the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. The U.S. and South Korea also would coordinate more deeply on nuclear response strategy in the event of the North attacking the South, but operational control of such weapons would remain in U.S. control, and no nuclear weapons are being deployed onto South Korean shores.
And you can read the rest of that in my description box. Going to the next one now. This one here is from Business Insider. Following the invasion of Ukraine, majority of the world disapproves of Russia's leadership for the first time, from a new poll.
The majority of the world now disapproves of Russia's leadership, Gallup found. A median of 57% across the 137 countries surveyed disapprove of Russia's leadership. Russia's unprovoked invasion of Ukraine has made it a pariah. Approval of Russia's leadership plunged across the world after Russian President Vladimir Putin ordered an unprovoked invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, according to new Gallup polling. The majority of the world now disapproves of Russia's leadership, a first in the history of Gallup tracking ratings of world leaders, which began in 2007. Putin has ruled over Russia throughout that time, rising to power in 1999 and serving as either president or prime minister since. An approved referendum allows him to stay in power until 2036. A median of 57% across the 137 countries surveyed by Gallup said they disapprove of Russia's leadership, which is synonymous with Putin and the oligarchs and security officials who keep him in power. Just a year before, that number stood at 38%, showing how disapproval of Russia's leadership skyrocketed worldwide after the invasion of Ukraine. Majorities in 81 out of 137 countries said they disapprove of Russia's leadership.
And you can read the rest of this in my description box if you more to read, if you like. Let me go on the next one here. This is from the Associated Press. Clock ticking for plan to keep West Virginia coal plant open.
Charleston, West Virginia, AP. More than 500,000 homes and businesses in West Virginia would see their electricity bills increase for up to a year or more to extend the life of a coal-fired power plant on the brink of closure under a proposal advancing through the state's utility regulatory agency. West Virginia's Public Service Commission said this week it will allow Monongahela Power and Potomac Edison to move forward with finalizing a plan they project would cost 547,000 West Virginia ratepayers at least $36 million to cover the cost of keeping the 2-unit, 1,300 megawatt Pleasance Power Station on the Ohio River open until May 2024. The request, made at the urging of state Republican leadership, will allow the First Energy Corporation subsidiaries, which currently own 2 other coal-fired plants in West Virginia, to study the possibility of adding it to their power production holdings. Otherwise, Pleasance Power Station's more than 150 employees will lose their jobs after its current May 31st closure date, and the plant will likely be demolished by its owner, Texas-based Energy Transition and Environmental Management.
And there's more to read if you want to read the rest of it. Let me go to the next one here. This is from the Associated Press. Arizona county's new elections head share voter fraud memes.
Phoenix, AP, a rural Arizona county where leaders have embraced voting machine conspiracies, on Tuesday hired an elections director who has promoted the false claims that voter fraud cost former President Donald Trump re-election in 2020. The 2 Republicans on the 3-member Cochise County Board of Supervisors voted to hire Bob Bartlesmeyer, who shared memes on his personal Facebook page supporting Trump's claims of fraud and promoting the lie that Dominion voting machines manipulated the outcome. Fox News last week agreed to pay Dominion Voting Systems nearly $800 million to settle a defamation case, after the network repeatedly aired the bogus voting machine claims after the 2020 election. The hiring of Bartlesmeyer is the latest controversial decision by the conservative majority in the southeastern Arizona county of 125,000 people, which voted for Trump over Joe Biden in 2020 by nearly 20 percentage points. The 2 Republicans on the board, Tom Crosby and Peggy Judd, tried to have the ballots hand-counted in last year's midterm election, which a judge said was illegal. They then refused to certify the election results, forcing a judge to step in again. Bartlesmeyer, who was previously the elections director in a smaller Arizona county, replaces Lisa Mara, Trending stories.
Okay, that's all I'm going to play on that one there. You're going to read the rest of my discussion box. Let's go here from Associated Press. China opposes Taiwan-US defense and military exchanges.
Taipei, Taiwan, AP. China warned against continued U.S.-Taiwan cooperation Wednesday, responding to reports that the U.S. military was sending officers to help train Taiwan's counterparts and that a delegation of defense contractors would visiting the self-ruled island next week. We resolutely oppose the U.S. having any form of official or military contact with China's Taiwan region, Zhu Fenglian, spokeswoman for China's Taiwan Affairs Office, said at a weekly press briefing in Beijing. Taiwan and China split in 1949 after a civil war. Taiwan never has been part of the People's Republic of China, but the Communist Party says it is obliged to unite with the mainland, by force if necessary.
And that's all I'm going to play on that one there. Just more to read if you want to read the rest of that. Let me go to the next one here. This is going to be a short one I'm going to have here. This is from Market Beat. United Parcel Service delivers a warning to the market.
United Parcel Service, NYSE, UPS, didn't have a bad quarter, and it is not in danger of imploding, but the results were lackluster and pointed to a continued slowdown in consumer spending. That's terrible news because a slowdown in consumer spending, a sustained and possibly accelerating slowdown, will have a far-reaching impact on the economy.
Let's see here.
The long-term results are positive, allowing global supply chains to catch up and rationalize with the times entirely, but the nearer-term consequences are troubling. Those include slowing sales, declining earnings, and economic recession.
That's all I'm gonna play on that one there. I know I'm spending less. I'm not earning anything except for Social Security and off my savings, so that's getting down there. And so I'm not going to be part of this. Anyway, let me go to the next. This from New York Post. California retail head slams Proposition 47 for rise in thefts after Target store locks down entire inventory.
A California business leader blamed the staggering rise in store thefts and attacks on retail employees on the state's soft on crime Prop 47 policy. Rachel Michelin, president of the California Retailers Association, CRA, told the Post that brazen thefts, which has caused one Target location to lock down its entire inventory, have soared over the Safe Neighborhoods and Schools Act. The act, known as Prop 47, downgraded crimes like theft of goods under $950 from felonies to misdemeanors. Many have criticized the policy as a free pass for shoplifters to keep stealing while only getting a slap on the wrist. The problem now is that people who are drug addicted, who have mental health issues, they candidly will go into stores and they will steal, Michelin said. They will sell those items out on the street, they then make money. They then continue their habit or continue a destructive lifestyle. These repeated offenders have plagued California retail chains in recent years, leading to a shoplifting crisis that caused a Target in San Francisco's Folsom Street to put all of its cosmetic and toiletry products under lock and key. The National Retail Federation's 2022 Retail Security Survey ranked San Francisco/Oakland as the second most hard-hit metropolitan area by theft in 2020 and 2021, only behind Los Angeles.
And this all started since Biden got in, That's the truth about it. You can read the rest of this in my description box. They're being soft on the crooks, so the crooks can go out and say, hey, they ain't gonna hurt us. We'll go out and steal. That's why all the thefts and the catalytic converters and stuff been going on. Anyway, let me go to the next one here. This is from Newsweek. Russia's secret plans for Baltic States exposed.
The Kremlin has drawn up a series of plans that outline how it can exert its influence in the Baltic states of Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania over the coming years, an investigation has revealed. Leaked documents from Russian President Vladimir Putin's administration in Moscow were obtained by Swedish news outlet Expressen, Yahoo News, and others.
Okay, that's all I'm going to play on that one there. You can read the rest of my description box. And the next one is from Fox News. I know I said I'm not going to start doing Fox News, but they got some good articles. So once in a while I will if I find a good article I like. But I did take them off my phone and off my Roku. Anyway, this is says a whistleblower to tell House that U.S. government is middleman in multi-billion-dollar migrant child trafficking op.
First on Fox, a House Judiciary Subcommittee hearing on Wednesday will feature the testimony from a whistleblower who will warn lawmakers that the U.S. has become the middleman in a multi-billion-dollar migrant child trafficking operation at the border. The hearing, The Biden Border Crisis, Exploitation of Unaccompanied Alien Children, will be held by the House Judiciary Subcommittee on Immigration Integrity, Security and Enforcement and will examine the surge in unaccompanied children, UACs, at the southern border. According to Customs and Border Protection, CBP, statistics, the number of UACs who came to the border shot up from 33,239 in FY 2020 to over 146,000 in FY 2021 and 152,000 in FY 2022. So far in FY 2023, there have been over 70,000 encounters of unaccompanied children. When child migrants are encountered at the border, they are transferred into the custody of Health and Human Services, HHS, and then united with a sponsor, typically a parent or family member already in the U.S. But the Biden administration has been rocked by a number of reports that officials have been unable to make contact with over 85,000 child migrants, and more recently that administration officials ignored signs of explosive growth in child labor. A number have been forced into indentured servitude to pay back smugglers and have worked in dire conditions.
And there's more to read on that if you like. This is all Biden's doing. I'm going to play this short video here.
Identify as LGBTQ may not be held in custody after crossing the border.
Special status. The bill aims to protect, quote, vulnerable people. It also applies to those who do not speak English. And as calls grow to impeach DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, he is focusing on an AI task force.
Just who you want in charge of that. All right. Well, Fox News contributor Sarah Carter has seen the crisis at the border, and she joins us now. Sarah, always great to have you. Good morning.
Good morning.
What do you make? I mean, like, I've always known that, you know, what the priorities of this administration, but it was still very jarring to see this list and to see that political persecution, which was always why we let people come into our country, was at the bottom of the list.
I think it's crazy, Rachel, and it goes to show you the hypocrisy in this administration. But we've seen this. This isn't, you know, now it's very public. But for the last 3 years that I've been watching as people are claiming to be LGBTQ in an effort to stay in the country. So they already know that this is a loophole. I guess this is the way that the Biden administration can make it very, very public so that people can continue to come into this country illegally. All they do have to do is claim it. I remember talking to a young man who had crossed the border when I was in Yuma, Arizona, and he had said to me, you know, I was told if I say I'm gay, I get to stay. So I don't think that's going to be a problem for me. And I said, well, are you gay? And he said, no, I'm not. I'm just going to say it. So they already understand the loopholes. The cartels will already brief them on these loopholes, and they'll get to stay in the country.
So will the NGOs, by the way.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And a big part of this is what is happening over in Central America and Mexico when the NGOs and other lawyers, immigration lawyers as well, that work for the NGOs, brief what they are clients, future clients, and they do that even here in the United States. Interestingly enough, I spoke with an immigration and customs enforcement officer this week about that and about the adjudication process of getting people into the United States. That's where they do the interviews. And many times what ICE officers will tell me is that they don't even carry identifiers. So we know a lot of the people that come in won't even be carrying their identification. They'll make up who they are, and they'll even make up their age. So think about this. They'll come in saying that they're a young person, so they'll give an age of like 17 when they're actually like 26. So then they move these folks into facilities where they are holding younger people and exposing the younger children to older adults post 18, and those children are now susceptible to being abused by older folks. So this is a problem that we've seen across the board.
For sure. Just when you thought it couldn't get wilder, they expose exactly what they want. Hopefully this bill never becomes law, but it's already happening on the border, as you talked about, Sarah. But we want to get your take real quick on something else happening in California. You know, the border has brought in, unfortunately, tragically, deadly amounts of fentanyl, and it's happening in multiple streets, including San Francisco in California. Governor Newsom is now directing the National Guard in California to try to deal with the fentanyl crisis. Here's what he said on Friday. He said 2 truths can coexist at the same time. San Francisco's violent crime rate is below comparably sized cities like Jacksonville and Fort Worth. So he's got to take a swipe at Florida and Texas. And there's also more we can do to address public safety concerns, including the fentanyl crisis. We're taking action. So now they deploy the National Guard to deal with the drug crisis they won't address otherwise.
That's absolutely, again, we're seeing the hypocrisy, right, on the part of the Democrats, and particularly on the part of this administration. You know, that border has been wide open now and purposefully open. The Biden administration made it very clear when they overturned everything that President Trump had put in place with his executive orders. And so the border became a sieve for fentanyl and for other narcotics coming into the United States, like crystal meth. But if you just focus on fentanyl and the fentanyl crisis, one of the issues that has been very downplayed by this administration, they haven't addressed it, frankly, is the fact that the Chinese Communist Party has been pumping in precursor chemicals into Mexico so that these Mexican cartels can then create these counterfeit pills that come on our streets. They make an exorbitant amount of money of them, hundreds of billions of dollars in cash that flow back, by the way, through Chinese banks. So they launder the money, the Mexican cartels, through Chinese Communist Party affiliated banks. So we have no access to them. Our streets are flooded. We've lost over 100,000 young people, as well as Americans, to this crisis, 60% from fentanyl. And all you have to do is walk through the streets of San Francisco, go to Pennsylvania, unfortunately to Philadelphia and Kensington. You can see it spreading. And I even see it here in Texas, in San Antonio. So it's moving across the United States. It's a little too late for Governor Newsom and for this administration to actually act like they're going to do something about it, because I don't buy it.
Well, Sarah, it's great to talk to you this morning. Thanks for getting up early with us. We always appreciate your perspectives.
Yeah, thank you, Joe Biden. I don't call him president. Thank you, Joe Biden. Let's go to the next one here. This from The Guardian. Tucker Carlson, ex-Booker, alleges she experienced bullying and sexism at Fox.
Tucker Carlson's abrupt departure from Fox News set shockwaves through the American political and media landscapes, and immediately many U.S. pundits linked it to the huge settlement the right-wing channel had just reached with Dominion voting systems. Related, Tucker Carlson. Carlson, as a far-right provocateur, had been instrumental in the channel's airing of conspiracy theories around the 2020 election that had often put Dominion's voting machines at the heart of false claims of ballot rigging. But there is another legal case involving Carlson, his show, and Fox that is also now gaining attention in the wake of his firing, one that casts a brutal spotlight on the internal culture of Carlson's show and some of its top executives, with claims of bullying, anti-Semitism, and sexism. It is a lawsuit by Abby Grossberg, Carlson's former booker. Grossberg had been fired by Fox News shortly after she filed 2 lawsuits against the company in March, claiming that Fox News, Fox Corp, and employees, including Tucker Carlson, fostered a workplace riven with abusive behaviors. Grossberg's complaints centered around Tucker Carlson Tonight, TCT, by far the most watched and most profitable cable talk show on Fox News or any cable station. Grossberg claims she was isolated, overworked, undervalued, denied opportunities for promotion, and generally treated significantly worse than her male counterparts, even when those men were less qualified than her. Fox News, meanwhile, has described Grossberg's claims as unmeritorious and riddled with false allegations against the network and our employees. The company said it had hired an independent outside counsel to investigate the concerns raised by the former employee. But Grossberg's legal complaint makes for brutal reading.
And you can read the rest of this in my description box if you like. I'm going to go to the next one here. This one here is from Reuters. Russia's war on Ukraine latest. Moscow warns of war. Told you.
Reuters, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Russian forces hit a museum in the eastern city of Kupiansk on Tuesday, killing 2 women and burying others under rubble, while Moscow warned of the potential for a new world war. Battlefield. Ukraine said Russia maintained offensive actions in the Bakhmut, Avdiivka, and Mariinka areas on the Eastern Front, with heavy fighting for the city of Bakhmut. Russia has begun using its new T-14 Armata battle tanks to fire on Ukrainian positions, but they have not yet participated in direct assault operations, RIA state news agency said. Politics. Asterisk, the Kremlin rejected what it said were lies that President Vladimir Putin had look-alike body doubles who stood in for the 70-year-old leader and that he spent much of his time shielding in a bunker.
And you can read the rest of this in my description box if you like. I'm going to the next one here. Okay, this one here from Business Insider. Top secret information is like toilet paper at the Pentagon, says Vietnam War whistleblower.
There's no reason to think the Discord leak has damaged U.S. national security, Daniel Ellsberg said. Top secret is like toilet paper at the Pentagon, said Ellsberg, who leaked the Pentagon Papers. Ellsberg told the Washington Post that the U.S. government tends to keep a mystique of secrecy. Daniel Ellsberg, the man who in 1971 exposed Vietnam War intelligence that stunned the country, doubts the leak of Pentagon documents last year on Discord poses any severe threats to U.S. national security. Ellsberg, who is 92 and battling pancreatic cancer, commented on the Pentagon's handling of classified information in a Tuesday interview with the Washington Post's Devlin Barrett. There is no reason to believe that it harmed American national security in any measurable way, he told the Post. Public fears about the leak's consequences have been blown out of proportion because the U.S. government tends to keep a mystique of secrecy, he said, per the Post. At the Pentagon, top secret is like toilet paper, it's nothing, the former military analyst told the outlet. CIA Director William Burns appeared to echo a similar sentiment on April 11 as he spoke at an event in Texas, CNN reported. I think there is a serious problem of overclassification sometimes in the U.S. government, Burns said, per CNN. Which I think needs to be taken on. Jack Teixeira, the 21-year-old Air National Guardsman charged with leaking the Pentagon's secrets on Discord, was given top-secret security clearance in 2021, less than 2 years after he enlisted, according to prosecutors. The documents, which Teixeira is accused of uploading to his private Discord server, revealed details of the U.S. surveillance on South Korea, Egypt, Israel, and Ukraine's governments. Ellsberg said the leak, discovered by authorities earlier this month, in some ways mirrors the secrets he revealed 5 decades ago, per the Post. American officials at the time believed the U.S. was struggling in the Vietnam War but publicly claimed they were close to victory. In comparison, the new leak shows that Washington knows the war in Ukraine has slowed to a stalemate, though neither the U.S. nor Russia will admit it, Ellsberg told the Post.
Read the rest of this in my description box if you like. There's not no top secret thing there. You know, the guy was in the military for 2 years. Why would they give him top secret paper in that less of time? You know, it's bull crap. It's what it is. Government got to blame somebody for something. Okay, my next one here is it's from Fox News. Michigan school district faces lawsuit after forcing students to remove "Let's Go Brandon" sweatshirts.
Criticism of the president is core political speech, protected by the First Amendment, attorney. By Kyle Morris, Fox News. 2 students who were prohibited from wearing clothing that featured a phrase critical of President Joe Biden have filed a lawsuit against their Michigan school district. The Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, FIRE, self-described as a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization dedicated to defending and sustaining the individual rights of all Americans to free speech and free thought, are representing the Tri-County Middle School students who sued the school district Tuesday for viewpoint discrimination after they were forced to remove sweatshirts they wore to school that featured the phrase "Let's Go Brandon" in February 2022. An assistant principal and a teacher ordered the boys to remove the sweatshirts for allegedly breaking dress code while allowing other students to don other political apparel like gay pride-themed hoodies, according to FIRE. The district and its employees, according to the complaint filed in U.S. District Court for the Western District of Michigan, Southern Division, are censoring students who try to express support for former President Donald Trump or opposition to President Joe Biden. The lawsuit from FIRE, a first for the free speech group on behalf of K-12 students, seeks a court order blocking the school district's viewpoint discriminatory ban on Let's Go Brandon apparel and a provision of its dress code banning students from wearing clothing which calls undue attention to the student, according to the group. Criticism of the president is core political speech protected by the First Amendment, said FIRE attorney Connor Fitzpatrick. Whether it's a Biden sticker, Let's Go Brandon's sweatshirt or gay pride t-shirt, schools can't pick and choose which political beliefs students can express. FIRE said the incident involving the two students is part of a pattern of political favoritism by the school district and that it is wrongly relying on a policy that prohibits profane clothing to censor this particular message. When the school district relaxed the dress code for field day, a school administrator ordered a student to stop wearing a Trump flag as a cape, but permitted other students to wear gay pride flags in the same manner, the group said in a press release announcing the lawsuit.
And I hope the school system loses. You know, that's a democratic stake. You know, if you wear stuff for Biden, they'll allow it. If you wear stuff for Trump, they won't allow it. You know, that's illegal. Let's go to my last one here. This is from Fox News. How Let's Go Brandon became a national social media sensation.
Supporters of former President Trump and Americans dissatisfied with Joe Biden have turned the chant "Let's Go Brandon" into a massive social media viral trend that has shown up at sporting events, airports, memes, all the way to the former president's Saturday rally in Iowa. It started as a profane anti-Biden chant at college football games, but went to a new level last Saturday when NBC reporter Kelly Stavast interviewed NASCAR Xfinity Series driver Brandon Brown after he captured his first race victory at Alabama's Talladega Superspeedway. During the interview, Trump supporters and Biden critics took a page out of the book of other sports fans across the country by chanting "F Joe Biden," which could clearly be heard by NBC's cameras. Stavast, in an apparent attempt to steer the interview away from politics, reported that the crowd was really chanting "Let's Go Brandon." At that moment, the new viral sensation was born. Memes, jokes, and comments immediately began to spread across the internet, posted by Trump supporters mocking NBC's coverage during the interview.
Okay, and that's how I got on that one there. Just a little more to go on that, if you like. And anyway, I hope I gave you some information. And I hope you like what I had. Remember, I am Alan for today's news. I will be reading, speaking about world news, interesting news, news to keep you entertained, and news to keep you informed. At least my computer will be reading anyway. It talks better than I do. She messes up sometimes, but don't forget to like, subscribe. At least come back once in a while. Until next time, thanks for watching.